Pre-statistics. Parameter value mixture and break-even problems involving systems. Part 4. Lesson objective. Use a system of two linear equations or a linear function to solve parameter value mixture problems and break-even problems. Example 8. How much 10% acid solution should be added to 30 liters of 25% acid solution to achieve a 15% solution? How much of the 15% solution will there be? So solution, again, we're going to let our x be equal to the amount of 10% solution and y be the amount of 15% acid solution. So our first equation is the amount of liquids of the solutions. So the amount of 10% solution will be x plus the amount of 25% solution, and that's 30, and that equals the amount of 15% solution, and that's y. The second equation is the concentration of the acid in the solutions. So the concentration is equal to the percent of the acid times the amount of the liquid. So for the 10% solution, again we have 0.10 times x plus 0.25, 25%, times the amount of liquid, which is 30, equals 15% times the amount of liquid, which in this case is y. Simplifying, we now have 0.10x plus 7.5 equals 0.15y. I'm going to take this equation, I'm going to solve for x. To get rid of the decimals, I multiply everything by 10. So 0.10x becomes 1x. 10 times 0.75 becomes 75, and that's equal to 10 times 0.15, which gives us 1.5y. Solving for x, I'm going to subtract 75 to both sides, and we have x equals 1.5y minus 75. So this equation is equivalent to this equation. Now to solve the system, we have x equals 1.5y equals 75, and we have x plus 30 equals y. If I solve the second equation for x, I'm going to subtract 30 to both sides. So now we have one equation in terms of x, the other equation in terms of x, and I can simply set these two equal to each other. So I'm doing substitution. The next step, I want to subtract y to both sides, and we're left with negative 30 equals 0.5y minus 75. Add 75 to both sides, we have 45 equals 0.5y. Divide, and we have y is equal to 90. To find x, I substitute 90 in for the equation x equals y minus 30, and we see that x is 60. So adding 60 liters of 10% acid solution to 30 liters of 25% acid solution will give us a 15% acid solution. The amount of the 15% acid solution is 90 liters. Break-even problems. In business, a common question arises: how many units of products must be sold in order to avoid losing money this month? The answer to that question is called the break-even point. The firm neither loses money nor makes a profit. Its profit is zero. We have operation costs, and they can be broken down into fixed costs like rent, lease of a car, and you have variable costs, which this can change according to, say, how many products you make. So if a business is making shoes, the rent would be an example of a fixed cost, and the variable cost would be the number of shoes they produce in a month. So as they go month to month, the number of shoes could change. It could vary. So the cost equation can be thought of: cost equals the amount of fixed costs plus the amount of variable costs. If we use symbols, we could state C equals F, which is short for fixed costs, plus V times X, where V is the variable cost and X is the number of items. The break-even of a firm is the level of output, production or sales, or both, at which the firm's revenue equals the firm's total cost. So this is the break-even point. Total revenues, that's how much in sales, equals the total cost. Say in symbols, R times X, where R is the revenue times the number of items, and that equals the cost, which is fixed costs plus our variable costs times X, the number of items. Profit. When the revenues equal the total cost, the profit is zero. If the revenues are greater than total cost, you will have a profit. When the revenues are less than the total cost, you will have a loss. And a loss means the firm is losing money. So here we have our profit formula. Profit equals the revenue minus the total cost. So when these two are equal, you'll have the same number minus the same number. The profit will be zero. If we use our symbols, we say profit equals R, which is revenue, times X, the number of items made, minus the total cost, which is fixed costs, plus variable costs times the number of items made. Example 9. The rent on a popcorn stand at a local mall is $180 per month, and the stand is open 7 days a week. Suppose that the selling price of each bag of popcorn is $1.50, and the wholesale cost of the popcorn is 25 cents. A. What is the break-even point? B. If the owner needs to make a profit of $1,000 per month, how many bags of popcorn does he need to sell? C. What profit would the owner make if he sells 1,200 bags of popcorn per month? Let's start with A. What is the break-even point? Let's let N be equal to the number of bags of popcorn sold. Our total cost would be our fixed cost, which is $180 for the rent, plus how much it costs for each bag of popcorn, which is 25 cents. And that's going to be multiplied by the number of bags of popcorn sold, which is N. The total revenues is the amount of money sold. That would be equal to how much each bag of popcorn is being sold for, $1.50, times the number of bags. So to find the break-even point, we are going to take this expression and set it equal to this expression. Total revenues equal total costs. So we have 1.5 times N equals 180 plus 0.25 N. So our first step, we have N terms on both sides. I'm going to subtract 0.25 N to both sides. We now have 1.25 N equals 180. Divide by 1.25 and we have 144. So in the terms of the problem, our break-even point occurs when we sell 144 bags of popcorn. If we sell more than 144, there'll be a profit. If we sell less than 144, there'll be a loss. B. If the owner needs to make $1,000 in profit, we use our formula. We substitute 1,000 in for profit. Our revenue is 1.5 times N, and then we're going to subtract the total cost, which is our fixed cost plus our variable costs. Now you have to keep in mind you're subtracting this whole expression. So the next step, I would distribute this negative. So we now have 1,000 equals 1.5 times N minus 180 minus 0.25 times N. We have N's on the same side of the equal sign, so we combine like terms. We get 1,000 equals 1.25 N minus 180. Next we want to add 180 to both sides and divide by 1.25. And we see that N is equal to 944. So this means the owner will need to sell 944 bags of popcorn to make a profit of $1,000. C. This time we want to calculate the profit given N is 1200. Again, using the profit formula. So we have our revenue, we have our total costs. This time we know that N is 1200, so we substitute those in. Following the order of operation, we multiply these two numbers. Next, we have to compute what's in parentheses before we can subtract. So we take 0.25 times 1200, add 180, we get 480. 0.15 times 1200 is 1800, and we see that our profit is 1320. So in the terms of this problem, the owner will make a profit of $1,320 when 1,200 bags of popcorn are sold. Thanks for watching.